how did you start? How did you start your company?
Do you want like the full story on it or the?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So without getting into personal details, there's just a period of life where I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I kind of got into the creative side of life through finding out I was a decent singer, and then just kept exploring that and found out I liked writing poetry. Then I did a lot of acid and wrote a lot of poetry. And along the way, then got into producing and so on and so forth. And I was like, okay, let me try the creative side of life. That kind of made more sense for me because I've tried other stuff and programming and business, etc. And it just didn't quite stick. I was good at stuff, but it didn't pull me as much as the creative side did, like the challenge of it and the abstraction and the lack of success in it. Like, you can't be successful as an artist almost. Like, you can business-wise, but as an artist, there's no such thing as success. It's just some form of expression that you just chase the next thing. So then over time, I did a lot of traveling and figuring myself out. And I did try an event once because I noticed people really struggle to express themselves. So it was called Express Yourself, and nobody showed up at all. But the idea was great, and I was like, this feels right. This idea feels right. Doing an event, and then a couple years later, this is the true story, and this is literally the thought processes behind it. So I'm not exaggerating. We were living up in Wake Forest, and I was producing music at the time and making really good stuff for what it's worth, and just barely getting into DJing only because I didn't like what other people played. I just knew there's a lot of beautiful music out there that I wish was played more often, like, live settings. So I was like, let me try this. And I enjoyed it quite a bit. So I started to branch out into creative communities, and my best friend, Nicolette, she is hilarious as a person. And I was trying to really push her to, express herself too. And she's just talented at pretty much everything, but she's just so funny, it's ridiculous. And she's such a unique personality. So we were like, you should really try stand-up comedy. You'd be really good at it. So she spent like a couple weeks writing material. And me and my friend Daniel, we, wrote a little bit, and we're like, okay, we'll go to this open mic down at Good Nights, all the way in Raleigh. It was a good 15-minute drive. We went down. Nicolette got picked out of us three. We all signed up. We're like, that's awesome. She goes on, and she absolutely crushes first time. I mean, she crushes so hard that the next guy bombed and blamed her. Then like 3 or 4 sets later, when jokes weren't landing, there was like comedians who've been in it for a while, like pretty much referencing her set because of how hard she crushed. Nice. And it was just so silly because she's such a silly person that she gets like power hungry immediately. She's like, oh, I did good. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to crush every time. I'm going to be a professional comedian. We're like, okay, all right. We'll go back next week. And so we had a great time. We go back next week. We all three sign up. And then she gets picked again. We don't get picked. And I'm like, sexist. These odds don't add up. And I come to find out, it was on purpose. Like, now that I learned the open mic process at Good Nights, it was on purpose she was picked again because it was a female that did well. So you have to push that because there is a massive imbalance. And I understand that now. But back then, I was like, that's crap. So I was like, I want to do it. I'm going to make my own show. And so I did. And it was just a bunch of random ideas thrown together. We lived in this like 100-year-old barn essentially up in Wake Forest. And it was beautiful, but it was in the middle of nowhere. Really long driveway. If you didn't know it was there, you would never know. And we did an event on a Monday. And I was like, okay, what would be cool for an event? Okay, me, Daniel, and Nicolette will do stand-up comedy. We'll live stream it because a lot of our friends didn't live in the area. We had a really, really crappy, I think a C922 Pro Stream camera, just atrocious. But it was great for us back then. Yeah. And then I had a friend who was a culinary artist.
How many years ago was this?
This was August of 2018.
Okay.
So not super long ago.
No.
He's a culinary artist. We're like, oh, it'd be cool if he came and like made some food, and we want to make a positive impact in the world, so he'll make gluten-free and vegan food that's really tasty. And he did. And they were like, oh, I have friends that make music. We'll have a musician come in and do that, and then I'll DJ at the end, and I don't know, maybe we'll have some artists do stuff. I don't know. We just kind of put these ideas together, like this would be cool.
Huh.
And the first one happened, and Daniel was so bad at comedy that it was like, it's like watching a really slow train wreck that just like repeats over and over, just every joke attempt. So it was like beautiful to watch how horrible it was. And then I did whatever, you know. And then Nicolette crushed because she's just such a unique personality in general, to where you just never expect what she's gonna do.
Right.
And the musician was awesome. The food was great, and it was just really nice. It was just nice. We didn't know what we were doing. There's just certain things and ideas that I had for the first one that I ended up like a year later being like, wow, I was really dead on with that. And we had like 25 people show up on a Monday.
Nice.
In the middle of nowhere. We were new to the area. I didn't realize how significant that was.
Yeah, it's great.
And then we're like, oh yeah, let's do this every week for the next month, and not realizing how much of a task and undertaking that is.
Right.
So we did. And then so on and so forth. It grew, and by the 8th one, we had like 90 people showing up to a house on a Monday. We had like the manager of Good Nights at the time come through, and like 4 or 5 different like local headliners. Again, we had no idea what we were doing. We were just trying stuff, and each week improving it. We had an in-house musician. We had
That's awesome.
the
Wow.
food got like acclaim. Like people talked about the food that we had, and we made it free. We would just lose money on it, and we made it donation based, and eventually the donations added up to more than what our costs were. And then by the end of the year, so it was August, right, 2018, we even took like a month off to figure it out before the 5th one. So by the end of the year, we were just kind of walking around talking to venues and telling about our project, and one offered for me to come and do like an end of the year party at one of their venues. This was Proof in Raleigh at the time. Now that guy's a really good friend of mine. And we had like 100 people show up.
Nice.
And it was only like on a month of promotion, etc. And we had a band and a bunch of stuff. I didn't realize how good that was.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and it just, I don't know, it just kept kind of working. And I had these ideas, and I didn't exactly know what I was doing, but I just kept trying. And then the main event that we started was Between Two Clouds to You, because the whole Between Two Clouds thing, that was my artist moniker. And it was, at first it was Between Two Clouds as comedy night, like my comedy night, out of my angst at Good Nights for not booking us. And then we turned it to Between Two Clouds to You, because I was like, oh, this could be something more. So it's like this, there's a whole story behind what Between Two Clouds is, and it's like all of the good things of it to you, because it's live streamed. Right. So, and 2 people, and it was free, and it was just all to really provide and contribute. And it was always with those intentions, and just try this thing out that we just kind of stumbled upon. Then venues asked us to bring our show out there, and it just kind of did well wherever it went. And then stuff happened, personal stuff, etc. We took a hiatus, and then a venue asked us to come bring. They saw that event, and I spoke to them once about potentially bringing it to their venue, and then later asked us to bring just a pure comedy show to their venue. This is the Cotton Company up in Wake Forest.
Okay.
Which is started in May of 2019. And we're like, okay, we'll try it. The first one was horrible, and we failed miserably. We tried to put it on a Thursday. I tried to do a panel show with it. It was terrible. But they gave us another shot, and the next one, I think 40 people showed up. It was awesome, and by that end of the year, we had at least 80 people showing up, and then
Nice.
leading into 2020, we had, I think, like 180 people, like in February of 2020. So we ran out of seats, and people were happy to be there. They didn't even care. They would just stand and watch it.
That's
So
awesome. Wow.
yeah, we just kept trying stuff, and then tried a bunch of different like art gallery party things. Started throwing these little parties. Turned a coffee shop into a club one night. Just whatever I felt inspired to do, we just kind of tried it. I was like, this could be cool. Let's try this thing, and I didn't realize how bad I was at it.
Oh, you're actually pretty good at it. I like it. I mean, it's really creative the way you went about it.
It's getting there.